Abraham parked outside the office, the same one he'd avoided for months. The sign over the door, Barton and Cole Renovations, looked freshly painted, steady, permanent. He sat for a long time behind the wheel, his hand tight around the envelope in his pocket. Inside, the smell of sawdust and paint lingered, the hum of work carrying from the back rooms. Monica looked up from a stack of blueprints when the door opened. Her eyes narrowed the moment she saw him. Abraham. Her voice carried no warmth. Monica. He tipped his head, forcing steadiness into his tone. I ain't here to cause trouble. Just came to settle up. He pulled the envelope from his pocket and laid it on the desk between them. It had a check inside, the final payment for the renovations Jeremiah's crew had poured into his house. Monica didn't touch it right away. She studied him instead, her gaze sharp, searching. So that's it? You're just cutting ties? Abraham shrugged. Those chests fell hollow. House is going on the market. Jeremiah's got Malky. I figure this closes the book. Monica crossed her arms, leaning back. Don't sound like a man at peace. Sounds like a man running. Abraham gave a tired laugh, rubbing a hand over his jaw. Ain't nothing left to run for. Rebecca's gone. Jeremiah made his choice. And me? His voice dropped, rough. I'm just the one who kept asking for what he couldn't give. For a long moment, the only sound was the shuffle of papers in the back room. Monica finally reached out and pulled the envelope toward her. You want my advice? She said, her tongue clipped. Leave clean. Don't drag Jeremiah down with you anymore. Let him breathe. Abraham nodded slowly. That's the plan. He turned for the door, the weight of finality pressing against his chest. But as the cool air hit him outside, his steps faltered. The envelope was gone from his pocket. The house was soon to be gone, and Jeremiah had already walked away. For the first time since Rebecca's death, Abraham felt truly untethered. And he wasn't sure if that was freedom or emptiness. Jeremiah wiped the sweat from his brow, straightening from the half-installed shelving he'd been working on. The clatter of tools echoed in the unfinished room, but the sound stilled when Monica leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You got a minute? Jeremiah set the drill down carefully, reading the tightness in her face. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, exactly. She hesitated, then stepped into the room. Abraham came by this morning. Jeremiah froze, his pulse kicking up. What for? Monica pulled an envelope from her bag. She held it up between two fingers. Final payment. Renovations. Said he wanted to settle the debt before putting the house on the market. The words landed like a blow. Jeremiah's throat tightened. He's selling? Monica nodded, said he was closing the book. His words. She placed the envelope on the counter, her eyes never leaving his. He looked tired, hollow, like a man who'd already left, even though his feet were still on the ground. Jeremiah turned away, bracing his hands against the shelving he'd just installed. His chest ached, his breath coming shallow. You sure that's what he said? He asked quietly. Verbatim. Monica's tone was clipped, but her eyes softened. And I'll tell you what I told him. If he's walking away, maybe you ought to let him. Some doors are meant to close, Jeremiah. You try to force him back open, you'll just end up crushed in the frame. Jeremiah bowed his head, the weight of Rebecca's voice still echoing in him. Love him and love each other. But now, Abraham was slipping through his fingers, and Jeremiah had no idea if holding a vow was worth the price of losing him forever. Monica studied him a moment longer. Don't get lost in chasing after a man who's already decided to go, she said softly. Maliki needs you steady, not broken. When the door shut behind her, Jeremiah sank onto the floor, burying his face in his hands. Because for the first time, it felt like Abraham wasn't just testing him or pressing him. He was truly gone. Jeremiah drove with eager hands on the wheel, the road winding in front of him. His chest felt like it was caving in with every mile. Abraham was leaving. The words rang in his head. Selling the house, closing the book, walking out of their lives for good. Monica's warning still echoed. Some doors are meant to close. But Jeremiah couldn't let that door close. Not this one. Not on Abraham. His thoughts turned to Malachi. You need him too, he whispered hoarsely, even if you don't know it yet. But it wasn't just about Malachi. With every mile, the truth grew sharper, undeniable. He needed Abraham. The man who infuriated him, who pushed him, who made him feel alive and seen and terrified all at once. And he finally understood. The only way to keep Abraham from leaving was to let go of everything else. His vows, his promises, the years of prayers whispered in the night, even his fear of God's wrath. He thought of Rebekah's voice on that flickering screen. Love him and love each other. Maybe she hadn't just blessed it. Maybe she'd known it was inevitable. Tears blurred his vision as he gripped the wheel tighter. Lord, he whispered, his voice shaking, if I'm wrong, if this cost me my soul, then so be it. I can't lose him. Not like this. The house came into view, its windows glowing faintly against the dusk. Jeremiah pulled into the drive, his heart hammering, his mind stripped bare of excuses. Abraham was worth it, and whatever wrath came after would have to wait. The evening sun spilled through the living room windows. Dust motes drifted lazily in the air, catching in the golden beams as Abraham bent over a half-packed bucks on the floor. Abraham folded another stack of shirts into the open suitcase on the couch, his movements slow, deliberate, as though each piece of clothing carried its own weight of memory. On the mantel, Rebekah's photo caught the light. Abraham's hand lingered on the frame before he forced himself to slide it into the box. I tried, Becca, he whispered, his voice hoarse. Lord knows I tried. The scrape of tape across cardboard broke the silence, followed by the dull thud of the box sliding against the wood floor. Upstairs, more rooms waited, rooms filled with ghosts he hadn't yet faced. But he told himself he would. He had to. This was the only way forward. Leaving meant Jeremiah could keep his vows, raise Malachi without the shadow of temptation. Abraham told himself it was mercy, even if it felt like cutting out his own heart. He wiped the sweat from his brow, straightened, and glanced toward the front door. The sun setting beyond the glass seemed too wide, too final. And then, the low crunch of tires on gravel broke the stillness. Abraham froze. His chest tightened as sunlight shifted across the room, the sound of a car door slamming, carrying through the quiet. He turned toward the window, heart hammering. Jeremiah. He knew it before the knock came. Standing in the middle of the living room, suitcase half-zipped, boxes half-sealed, Abraham waited, every nerve taut, every breath sharp, because whatever crossed that threshold in the evening light would change everything. The knock came sharp against the wood, breaking the stillness of the house. Abraham's pulse jumped, but his feet carried him to the door before his mind caught up. He opened it slowly, the evening light pouring in, and there was Jeremiah. Face flushed, eyes glassy, shoulders taut, like a man carrying more than he could hold. For a long moment they only stared. The sounds of the world around them, the hum of cicadas, the distant bark of a dog, a car passing on the road, fading into silence. Abraham gripped the doorframe, his voice rough. You came. Jeremiah swallowed hard, his throat working. I had to. Abraham's eyes flicked past him, half expecting Malachi in his arms, but Jeremiah had come alone. His heart clenched. You don't have to say anything, Abraham said quietly, already bracing for the worst. I get it. You made your choice. Jeremiah shook his head, his voice hoarse. I didn't come to tell you no. The words hit Abraham like a jolt. He stepped back, opening the door wider, his eyes searching Jeremiah's face. Then, why are you here? Jeremiah still frozen on the porch. His chest rose and fell in uneven breaths, the weight of his decision pressing down like judgment itself. Finally, he said, because if you leave, Abraham, I'll lose the only thing I got left worth losing my soul for. Abraham's breath caught, his hand tightening on the doorframe. The air between them pulsed with something sharp, dangerous, and tender all at once. Abraham didn't speak, didn't move. He only waited, knowing that whatever Jeremiah did next would decide everything. And Jeremiah, trembling in the doorway, knew it too. Jeremiah's hand trembled as he gripped the doorframe. The house loomed behind Abraham, half-packed boxes scattered like evidence of an ending already written. He could still turn back, walk away, pretend this visit was nothing more than a moment of weakness. But he didn't. He stepped forward, the line between porch and home dissolving beneath his feet. Abraham's eyes widened, disbelief flickering across his face as Jeremiah crossed into the room. The door clicked shut behind him, sunlight cut off, and for a moment, they stood together in the dim, charged stillness of the house. Jeremiah's voice shook, but the words were steady. I've spent years telling myself I could pray it away, that I could bury it under vows, under guilt, under Rebecca's memory, but I can't. I've been lying to myself, to you, to God. Abraham's throat worked, his chest rising in a sharp breath. Jeremiah, no, let me finish. Jeremiah's eyes burned, his whole body taut with the force of what he carried. If I let you walk out that door, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I'll regret it more than any sin I ever named. You're worth it, Abraham. Worth the shame, the judgment, even God's wrath, if that's what comes. His voice cracked. I can't lose you. Not again. The words broke something loose in the air. Abraham's eyes glistened, his hand lifting, as though drawn without thought. He cupped Jeremiah's face, thumb brushing the tear-stained skin. Jeremiah didn't pull away. For the first time, he leaned into it. Their foreheads touched, breath mingling, the nearness heavier than any embrace. Abraham's voice came low, raw. Say it plain, once, so I know I ain't dreaming. Jeremiah closed his eyes, the fight gone at last. I love you. The confession hung between them like a benediction and a curse, both at once. Abraham kissed him then, slow, reverent, aching with everything that had been denied. Jeremiah yielded, his hands clutching Abraham's shirt, not in resistance, but in need. For the first time, there was no running, only surrender.